welcome to the Women in Payments UK Symposium. As you know, we should, in theory, be on a stage today. However, of course, in these extraordinary times, it's been important for Women in Payments to pivot. They never sit on their laurels. They're always looking for new ways to bring content out. This is our third in a series of 3 webinars. I hope you've been able to join the other 2. If you haven't, don't worry, because if you are a member of Women in Payments, you can, of course, go to POM, the platform of members, and capture the content. You know, so we've recorded not only an amazing fireside chat, our keynote fireside chat with Marcia Cantor-Grabel, who has had a prestigious career from her tenure at Mellon right the way through to now being a non-executive director of a number of organizations, including the Fintech Modular. Yesterday, we had an incredible executive panel with some of the real stars of the industry. 4 women talking about their career journeys and talking about what's important today and also what's important as we look ahead as well. And today, I'm always excited about this one because we have the biggest ever UK Unicorn Challenge. Again, it would be normally on a stage where we have firms vying for your vote, because yes, you get a chance to vote, as well as a prestigious lineup of judges as well. So don't forget, of course, that as with all good events, we have social media. So the social media hashtag, you have 2, hashtag Women in Payments. And there's also a hashtag UK Symposium. So if you've joined and you're ask you please to mute your Zoom links. That'd be wonderful. It's always the joy. We hear cats and dogs and pets and TVs and children, not in that order necessarily, because everybody's welcome, of course. But if you could mute, we'd be really grateful. So yes, do follow on social media, on LinkedIn and also on Twitter. The handle on Twitter is @Women-in-Payments and the hashtag WIP UK Symposium, or indeed hashtag Women in Payments as well. So we have a very, very exciting session for you. I'm going to hand over immediately to our opening speaker. You'll know her well because she is everything that Women in Payments stands for. She's not only an advisor and a mentor, she's a huge supporter of rising stars and innovators and leaders in the industry, and also a huge supporter of innovation, which is why the Unicorn Challenge is so important to her. Ladies and gentlemen, and just to say gentlemen, you are always welcome at Women in Payments events. It gives me great pleasure to turn the Zoom link over to the founder and the CEO of Women in Payments, Christy Duncan. Christy, hi there, it's over to you.
Hello, everybody, and a very big welcome to the Women in Payments UK Symposium for 2020. It's my honor to have you all here today, joining us for one of the highlights of this year's event, as Julian mentioned. Before we get started, I'd like to express my absolute awe at each here today, both the audience and our virtual stage, have taken and stepped up to manage this very, very unprecedented situation. And there are so many challenges presented by this pandemic. Family, friends, and community in all that you do is truly inspiring.
Chris, I'm going to jump over 2 seconds if I may. Your line's gone a little bit chewy, so I just wondered if I could just repeat a couple of things you were just saying as your line settles a bit, which is, I know you were talking about the relentless juggle of women, particularly during the pandemic, thinking through home care and juggling, etc. Why don't you could take it from there, and we'll see if your line has just settled a little.
Thanks, Julia. I'd like to take some time to thank our amazing sponsors for their very, very strong support. This year's global sponsors include JP Morgan at the silver level, and global bronze sponsors have ACI, and Visa, and support. In the UK this year, our sponsors include American Express for our awards program. Elevon is sponsoring this year's Unicorn Challenge. Finastra is our gold sponsor, and Ripple at the bronze level. Thank you to our sponsors. To all of our sponsors, please know that we are incredibly appreciative of your tremendous support. Now I'm going to pass over to Akita Samani, Chief of Staff at Elevon, to start this year's Unicorn Challenge.
Thank you, Christy, and a warm welcome to everyone. I'd like to present our very interesting judges for today's Unicorn Challenge. So first, While the judges turn on their video and come off mute, I'll just do a quick round of introductions. So we've got Dana Eli Lorge, who's the managing director at American Express Ventures. She's had a very interesting career spanning and living across different countries. So New York, Palo Alto, Israel, and very interestingly, she's also spent over 6 years as an officer in Israel's elite technology intelligence. Dana currently manages American Express venture activities in the EMEA region in addition to managing the core capabilities practice globally. Welcome, Dana. We then got Alison Livesey, who is a London-based managing director for the wholesale payments business at JP Morgan. And Alison has been featured in a number of industry publications and newspaper articles, especially a 2018 article on women driving JP Morgan's EMEA push. So very, very passionate about women in payments and women in financial services. We then have Alison Moulton from Santander, who heads up the specialist payment products at Santander. And Alison has been at Santander responsible for commercial cards and bill payments. And she's had an illustrious career in payments with over 20 years at MBNA, Bank of America, and Santander, and very, very passionate about small businesses and bringing them to life. So very relevant to the Unicorn Challenge that we have here today. Next up, we've got Janine Hurt, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Innovate Finance and been with them for 6 years since it was founded. And Janine has had an extensive career focusing on financial institutions, going right from the small institutions to more multinational financial institution and supporting the whole ecosystem and the network around it. So welcome to all of our judges today. A quick review of the process today and the criteria for judging. So the 5 parameters on which each of these pitches are going to be judged. It's the uniqueness and creativity of the solution, the business model and the potential for success of that business model, the potential impact to markets and users, practicality and interoperability. So the ease of implementation, scalability, cost effectiveness, and ability to interface with other systems, and the strength and diversity of the startup's management team, which of course is at the core of what Women in Payments really does and achieves for all of us. I'd like to thank our prize sponsors today. So American Express, Deloitte, HSBC, JP Morgan, Lloyds, MasterCard, NatWest, and Santander and Visa for very graciously offering the Judges' Choice winner a 60-minute audience with key stakeholders and executives for allowing these Unicorn Challenge participants to pitch to the right stakeholders and get objective feedback on the concept and potential engagement. We'd also like to thank Taylor Wessing for offering the winner legal fees up to the value of £3,000, which I'm sure is very crucial for a startup which is looking to scale up. We also very interestingly have an audience choice award. So all of you will have an opportunity to poll for your favorite Unicorn Challenge participant at the end of the pitches and the questions, and the poll will come up on screen and you'll have the opportunity to cast your vote. So absolutely keen to hear your perspective once our participants today have had a chance to pitch to you and the judges have an opportunity to ask some interesting questions. With that, I'm going to introduce our first competitor for today, who is Narisa from KogoPay. And I'll hand it over to Narisa to make a quick introduction to the company and start with her pitch.
Hi, shall I start now? Hi, my name is Narisa Chauvidul-Aw. I'm the CEO and founder of KogoPay. KogoPay is a mobile payment for everyone. My vision is to create an ethical and inclusive cashless ecosystem for everyone. Imagine that you can use KogoPay to send money to your family in Nigeria, or if you go to Japan next year for Olympic, you can use KogoPay to pay for hotels, pay for restaurants as well. And I would love to see that we can pick up the phone and use KogoPay to scan QR code payment and pay to big issue vendors. And I like to create the ecosystem that we think of other people as well, not just for ourselves. I want to see that we can use KogoPay when we go to the shop and cafe and pay for your own food and drink, and you pay for someone else as well. And you leave the sign on the board and people see the sign of KogoPay, they can come in and ask for Kogo food and drink that someone else already paid for them. The customer now, they want something fast, instant, cheap, secure, accessible, and they want to be able to choose how they want to pay in one app. This is how KogoPay phase 1 look like. Imagine that you go to Thailand for holidays after COVID-19. You can exchange pounds, euro to Thai baht with no charge. And when you arrive at the airport, you can withdraw the cash at one of our agents there. And when you walk on the street, you want to buy food, you can, they don't accept card, you can use QR code payment to pay for the food. And when you don't have money and you want to get more money, you can send request money to your family in UK or Europe, and then they can send money to you straight away on your mobile with no charge as well. And also you can use the KogoPay to send money as well. Given that we are in the new normal facing COVID-19, the virus can be transmitted by cash and it can survive on the card machine. KogoPay is a perfect solution for payments right now. Payment can be made from wallet to wallet using mobile number, or we can scan on printed QR code, so we can keep to strict social distancing with no physical contact at all. Where we are now, we did seed funding in 2018 and we finished crowdfunding in December last year. We are raising about 1.5 million now. The fund that we raised will help us to scale up and also to help us to continue development on the AI machine learning. We use it for compliance and AML, and also to help us to continue our development on decentralized identification project on zero knowledge proofs for KYC using biometric authentication for the unbanked. We have a strong network in Asia. We sign contract with company in Japan. We did sign contract with some company in Thailand, and we just finished MOU with one Singaporean company. They're doing real-time settlement. And I won the Women in Tech Award for startup last year in Lisbon. Mobile payment market is skyrocketing. Even with the impact of COVID-19, KogoPay is the right technology solution at the right time. Competitors, we are quite unique in our market in the UK and Europe, as we are one of the first mobile apps that offer instant payment between Europe and Asia, and also offer QR code payment that we can use in the Europe and also in Asia. Our closest competitor may be the like of like PayPal, Revolut, or TransferWise. We make money through FX margin, transaction fee, revenue sharing like merchant fees, and standard and premium account. We aim to reach 1 million users and 30 million revenues in year 5. And lastly, I would like to introduce you to my fantastic team. We have 4 women in my team and 2 men. We come from different backgrounds. I'm from Thailand, TJ, CFO, and Jenny, she's the head of innovation and AI. They're from Malaysia, and Lois, our CTO from Nigeria, and I got Zoe, she's British, and Lydia, she's a French Canadian. Between us, we have almost 120 years working experience, and most of us come with finance, compliance, banking, and AI background. Thank you.
Thanks, Narisa. I think with that, I'd like to invite our judges to turn on their video and come on. And we can start the round of questions. First off to Dana.
Hi, thanks Narisa for the presentation. So I was wondering, how do you acquire customers today? What's your go-to-market?
20 years ago, I have my magazine among Thai people called Thai Smile. Our first target market people is 1 million Thai people living in UK and Europe. So they know me well through my magazine. So that's my first target market. We have small payment license in the UK. So we start doing testing market. We already have some customer who sending money with our company, but different company now. So when we finish our app, we will onboard them as well. And we work with our partners in Asia. Like I work with one of the biggest money exchange in Thailand. We sign a contract with them. They have 1 million active customer, and Thai customer like to go to Japan. So I signed a contract with a company called NetStars in Japan. They have about 300,000 merchants in Japan. We just signed a contract last week. We can onboard customer from super rich who have 1 million active customer that they can use the app in Japan as well. So one thing, and we have other companies that we partnership with them as well. So they bring some customer as well. And because of COVID-19, we plan to launch last month. So we postponed it, but this time we bring phase 2 to phase 1. So we're writing banking platform, so we can offer virtual IBAN as well. So in the future will be B2B as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then
I forgot to mention that I'm in the Santander Women Mentorship Program this year. I forgot to mention that.
Thanks. And Janine has got a question for you.
Hi, Narisa, thanks so much. You spoke a little bit about the competitors that you have in your space. I think you mentioned TransferWise and Revolut as potentially being the closest to your model. Can you talk a little bit more about what separates you and distinguishes your company from those that are playing in a similar space?
A lot of people ask me during crowdfunding, how are you better than TransferWise? Okay. We are different. TransferWise focus on money remittance, isn't it? They can send money fast, some fast and some not fast. One is different. If you look at the remittance, in some particular country that we focus first, we do real time. So TransferWise still take 1 day, or even not in the UK, but some country they do real time as well. So it's a bit different. And we not just like remittance. Remittance is not just one of our main business. We do our QR code payments as well. So we focus on something else as well. I want to create something different. My dreams 10 years ago, I want to create something like people will see KogoPay, they feel happy. You know, I want to do like pay it forward. We can help homeless people. We try to sort out the problem of unbanked the IDs. This is a long process until I reach that time. You know, how can I do ID? I talked to Big Issue already because we keep talking about I want to help Big Issue. We haven't had a chance to help them yet. So we engage with them because we nearly finished the application. So we engage with them, we talk to them. The problem that they have is no ID, no KYC. So we try to see how we help them. So we're not just like TransferWise, send the money, but we have the function that people can use to send the money. You cannot use a TransferWise when you go to Japan or Thailand to use QR code payment. So we build something that just one app, you can use it everywhere. And I'm from research background. I love doing research. So we're doing research about AI compliance. We did research about blockchain, how to use blockchain for settlement. But now after we talk to Big Issue and some people in Thailand who live on the mountain, I help homeless and orphanage home every year. So when I go to the mountain in Thailand, they don't have ID. Some of them, they're orphanage, they don't have ID. So we try to work with the government, how to help them. So we talk about biometrics, authentication. We're not interested in technology because technology there all the time. So we're interested to do research with them about security, to be used decentralized identification, go to zero knowledge proof. How can we do that? So this is, we are different. So I hope.
Thank you.
Thanks, Narisa. And with that, I am going to now introduce and bring on our next competitor. And who's just turning on her video and coming up from Muse Corporation. who provide 30-day snapshots of invoices and expenses. But without further ado, Anne, over to you to run through your pitch.
Thank you. There. Great, thank you. And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an absolute honor to be here. My name is Anne Giuliano. I have 20 years experience in finance, both at Credit Suisse and Fortress. And in 2014, launched my first business. And based off the frustrations of managing cash flow and the success of that business, I founded Muse. We are on a mission to help businesses manage cash flow and stay liquid. Liquidity for small businesses has always been an issue. And actually, COVID's done a fantastic job of highlighting this. 5 weeks after the government announced some of its programs to help businesses, of the 300,000 businesses that have applied, less than 2% actually received funding. And we're here, Muse is here to address this issue by streamlining the funding for businesses. So we have financed to date 14 million pounds of invoices, and at a time where a lot of liquidity in the market has pulled back, our financing providers were actually strengthened, and we have access to even more capital to provide to businesses here in the UK. So we do two things. What we do is we link into a business owner's current accounting packages and bank accounts to give them a simple next 30 days cash flow forecast to tell them who owes them what in a very organized fashion and what expenses are coming due. If there's a pitfall or it looks like a need for funding, businesses can also sell their invoices over the app. When they go through that process, we do a full KYC AML background check on them, and that allows us to then give them access, access quickly to cash. And that would be the second part, access to funding. So right now we operate on a 2-day decision period. The ideal is to bring that down to seconds over time. And I think that's achievable. Our vision, though, is much bigger. Rather than providing this just directly to business owners, it's that lending platforms use the software and technology that we've developed so that they're able to onboard clients and get faster credit decisioning so that they can service their clients better. Why is this an issue? At the moment, businesses in the UK have what we consider to be trapped liquidity. There's about 14 billion of unpaid invoices. So rather than wait for the governments to respond or businesses taking on expensive debt, here we're offering an opportunity for them to sell an asset. And we're the team here to deliver this. It's a combination of both strong finance backgrounds, fintech, and development to really put the platform together. We're live right now on the App Store as well, and on Google Play. So, you know, if ignored, good businesses will fail because of antiquated process. So we're really looking for partnerships with bank and lenders to utilize what we've developed already. So please join Muse in the fight to keep SMEs funded. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And as I invite our judges to come on and ask questions, Alison, over to you.
Hi, great presentation. Who do you think of as your main competitors and what do you consider to be your kind of unique selling point?
Sure. So at the moment, we do a very short-term cash flow. So it's not something where you sit back and you say what's going to happen next year. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses don't have that luxury to think about next year. They're more concerned about that short-term liquidity and just knowing who they need to pay. So traditionally, a lot of people say, oh, you're a cash flow forecast app, but we're really not. We're really just telling you, is there going to be an issue? There's 54% of businesses go on their personal cash to pay payroll and office expenses because of the timing of their invoices. So we're saying there's no need for that. You can sell your invoice for it. So I don't see cash flow apps or capabilities like that as really a competitor. I think at the end of the day, a competitor might be more an overdraft account, where businesses are looking for, okay, quick access to funding, and have that like yikes situation where they'll rely on kind of an expensive overdraft to kind of bring them through.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks. Alison from Santander has a question for you as well.
Hi, yeah, great presentation. I think this is such an important tool for SMEs in terms of invoice management, and probably now more than ever, right, with the unpredictability of turnover and the requirement to really manage that closely in unpredictable times. I suppose on that nature, how do you see invoice finance evolving then? Because we are entering a period of very unpredictable turnover. How will you secure partners from banks and financial institutions to continue to support this?
It's a great question. And when you look at it, right now, invoice finance market has been strengthened or supported a lot by the insurance sector as well. So being able to insure an invoice from a corporate. The government's been great about supporting the insurance market so that they can continue to provide that invoice finance. I think at the end of the day, that what the invoice finance allows, as long as you have the right risk controls and frameworks in place and it's a valid invoice, this is a very good way for companies to access capital where they might not want to double down on debt. So I would think, if anything, this market should be taking off come September, October, where the government is going to start releasing a bit what they're doing. I think from the banking and lender perspective, kind of how I highlighted in the presentation, I think what we've built is great because we take in that data automatically from the accounting package. We take it in from the banking package, so you can actually cross-reference the data, look at trend analysis without asking for the traditional paper statements, which actually invoice finance players are still asking for paper statements. So what it will do is just automate the process at the bank level so that they're able to make that quick decisioning. The other part that no other kind of platform out there has within the invoice finance market is that KYC and AML. So we use multiple databases behind the scenes to do, that traditional KYC, selfie, photo, and we can actually onboard companies with multiple directors, which is quite unique. So we'll cross-check companies' house data, residential data as well, just to help along with that onboarding process, which is one of the bigger, I think, constraints that we saw with COVID, is that the banks and the lenders have been flooded with requests, and it's just been really hard to triage the good businesses from the bad.
Okay, one last very quick question from Donna.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. So curious, how do you integrate today with the lenders? And you also mentioned that you're planning to drive down kind of the approval process from a few days to, I'm assuming, a few seconds, hopefully. What's holding you back today? What do you need to do in order to get there?
Sure. So how we're set up as a lender is Muse acts as kind of a broker to the lender, and so we just charge a fee to whoever's providing the capital behind. And with that fee comes that full credit package and access to the data for the individual, the invoice, the accounting, et cetera. So that's just a brokerage fee that then the lender pays.
But the technical integration, that's how I meant, like, how do you integrate,
from a technical, so that's actually kind of gets to your second question on how do you streamline it, because right now we're MVP1, so we're a mix of tech and a mix of manual. And so what will happen is that full credit package and all that data and information is sent via an email to the lending provider to do their analysis. Now, it's not that difficult actually for us to overlay an API and link into the lending platforms. We haven't done it because we don't have a lender right now of kind of that requirement, but that's something that we would look to plug in. I don't think that the technology around that's not that challenging. How we would get from 2 days to what I would hope within 30 seconds is actually integrating the payments feature. So in the background, when you have invoices coming in and going out, one of the biggest complications invoice finance firms have is even banks to this day have 30 people manually reconciling this every month. How you can actually streamline that is you can use e-money licenses to put identifications onto your invoices, so it actually comes and it reconciles for you. So that part of the technology I haven't developed yet. It is costly to develop it, you know, and that's a bit why we're raising capital. But I think
sorry to cut you off there, Anne, but we need to move on. But thank you very much for your presentation, and very interesting. So now we move on to Seema from Nuggets, and as she turns her video on. Nuggets is a B2B2C platform which focuses on keeping personal and payment information secure and does away with the need for passwords. So Seema, over to you to take us through your pitch.
Thank you very much for having me. Hi everyone, I'm Seema Khinda-Johnson. I'm co-founder and COO of Nuggets. Oh, and my controls have gone. Oh, there we go. So Nuggets is all about taking back control of your data. We absolutely believe that personal information should be owned and controlled by the person, and that privacy is a fundamental human right. And the way that we store data today is completely broken, and here's why. So we've all seen these headlines, and these are large multi-billion-dollar organizations that, despite their best efforts, are breaching their customer data. Also I don't know why that's moving. Also alongside all of this, regulations have become tougher as a response to this. And also consumer sentiment has totally shifted last year, where consumers are no longer willing to give up that peace of mind. And you know, privacy and security is essentially at the top of their priority list when they're consuming goods and services online. So we've built Nuggets. It's a decentralized, self-sovereign identity and payment platform that offers consumers a secure digital vault. So once you go through a one-time onboarding process, you're able to log in without using a username and password. You're able to pay with using your existing debit or credit card. You're able to verify your identity with a call center or receive contactless delivery. And we can now also allow you to share secure documents, all without ever having to store any of that data on a third-party site. So we solve some of the most pressing issues for the clients that we work for. And just to go through, on a security level, Nuggets has no username or password at any level. We also don't use SMS or email for two-factor authentication. Our entire model as well is all around minimizing data. So if there is a data breach, which is probably inevitable, your data just isn't there to be compromised. Also, the organizations that we work with spend millions on validating identity, whether that's people cost or technology cost. And by combining a validated ID with a payment source, Nuggets can really reduce the amount that's lost to identity fraud, payment fraud, but also unlock that revenue that's lost to things like false positives. So here's how the product works. It's available on the App Store. I'm going to see if it will play. There we go. And there you go. So once you've downloaded, you can log in. It's all biometrics, and again, no username and password. It works on your phone, iPad, laptop. Again, this is a desktop journey. You just connect your phone with a one-time QR code. That's it, you're in. No more forgot password or abandoned baskets. Again, you can pay securely using your existing debit card or credit card. It just pings you. That's it. And this is an Android journey. So it's absolutely agnostic across platform, but also across iOS and Android as well. And that's it. You've checked out. On desktop, again, you've paid. Incredibly seamless. You don't have to pull out a credit card. You don't have to go through 3DS Secure. And that's it. And you can also verify your identity with a call center. So no more security questions or your mother's maiden name. They know it's you. You know it's them. They ping your digital identity. And that's it. You verify. And it's as simple as that. We can now also use the same technology so that you can go on now to receive deliveries in this new world where, you know, no longer will you have to wave at each other. They can just ping you to say, look, your Uber Eats is outside. You can verify that you've received it. And that's it. So our go-to-market strategy is that we are free for consumers, but we integrate businesses.
Just another 40 seconds or so to wrap up.
No problem. Oh, I don't know why my slide deck keeps moving. So we're a B2B2C business. We charge businesses transaction fees and setup fees. Product can be white labeled. So it's incredibly easy to integrate with a simple SDK, and it's modular. Also, team phenomenal. You know, we've got 50% representation with male and female, and all of us have extensive experience of commercializing products globally. Am I out of time? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Seema. And as I request our judges to come on and get started with their questions. So Janine, over to you.
Yeah, Seema, I think, thank you for the presentation. Very interesting, very relevant right now. So probably giving you an opportunity to develop a bit more on where you got cut off. But I'd love to hear more about your plans to grow and also the partnerships that you currently have in play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we've gone down the B2B2C route rather than trying to get some form of network effect down the consumer side. So we've been in development since 2016. We've had 2 very large strategic relationships with 2 global payment service providers. So Janine, instead of going merchant by merchant, we've decided to go down the PSP route to unlock hundreds of thousands of merchants at once, do the heavy lifting and the integration on that side, and then they can make the technology available on the merchant side. We also have things like Magento plugins. So if anyone has got a Magento site and they work with one of our PSPs, it's incredibly easy for them to integrate with us. We also have a number of other alliances. I can't share those on this call, but we're definitely, given that we have got this product and it's absolutely relevant right now with ID and payment together, we have a lot of interest for, you know, alliances and integrating with existing businesses because of the white label solution that we offer as well.
Thanks.
Thank you. Alison from Santander, you had a question.
I mean, this is innovation on such a grand scale, and I've been on your website, had a look at all the spin-off activities and additional propositions you've got with nugget tokens and currency alternatives, and it's hugely, hugely exciting. I suppose the question I have is, I understand your strategy to partner with payment services providers. I think that's absolutely spot on. But how are you overcoming the barrier that is blockchain is still very new? It, to the uninitiated, could be quite terrifying technology. So how are you going to get the consumer buy-in with the merchants as well?
Yeah, no, great. So what we've decided to do is go down that B2B route. So we absolutely, with the businesses that we work with, we provide them with educational communication. But actually, the reason why we're going down the B2B route is for all those issues that we're resolving for them. You know, essentially, the consumer's the beneficiary of the tech, and they don't really need to know it's blockchain. It's just the latest new privacy and security technology that we're using, right? So we're not going down trying to educate consumers that we use blockchain, because blockchain is a small part of what we're actually doing. For them, it's all about the faster, more convenient experience and the, you know, the ease of use. And on the business side, the way we gain that trust and relevance is that they're actually pushing nuggets out to already their captive audience as their new way of protecting their privacy and security for their users. So that's how we're overcoming that. We're not talking about the tech, we're talking about the benefits that it provides.
Thank you.
Great. And in the last 30 seconds, question from Alison Livesey. If Seema, if you could just take 30 seconds and respond to Alison's question.
What do you think is the biggest risk ahead of you to your growth strategy? What do you see as your biggest risk?
Yeah, great question. So I think it's actually the fact that our technology is ready right now, and it's going at scale, commercializing the business. And I think that's what it is, and making sure that we don't try to, you know, run before we can walk. Because, you know, I think that's it, you know, we've worked with the nascent technology. We're currently launched already in the EEA region. And I think it's just making sure that we scale appropriately and don't go with, you know, all the inquiries. And I also think the other thing is just staying incredibly focused to our go-to-market strategy rather than going to where the next interesting conversation is. But yeah, it's staying super focused.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Seema, for the very interesting presentation. And I'll now invite our next competitor, Felicia from Akoni, which is a multi-currency cash and cash deposit management platform providing specialist SME solutions and B2B2X cash and marketplace solutions. So Felicia, over to you.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Felicia, CEO and co-founder at Akoni. And I just want a brief introduction. I started Akoni when I had a problem as a CFO managing a lot of cash of a mid-sized business, where we had too much cash to do nothing, but too little cash to have a treasurer or to have a treasury management system or qualify for any of the bank's corporate treasury functions. And our objective is really to democratize the type of cash treasury function down to small businesses and consumers. So in terms of the size of this problem, in the UK last year, obviously with different interest rates, businesses and consumers lost around 10 billion in interest income. This is because of the lack of transparency, as well as the massive amount of friction in moving accounts. Not only that, but many in the chain, whether you are a financial intermediary, an IFA, or any other sort of platform servicing these markets, also have their own issues that they can't offer cash solutions currently. This is not a uniquely UK problem, it's a global problem with a 110 trillion market, essentially creating too many barriers. So why now? I think what's very important, even in the current COVID market, is what is happening. Obviously, we all know about the regulation around open banking. In the wealth and retail space, there have been huge demands from the FCA where they are looking at cash pathways when people retire. So consumers themselves are not receiving any sort of cash services when they move into decumulation or that retirement phase. Then in addition, obviously the economy and the market. With interest rates being almost zero and potentially rumored to go to a negative rate, we still have banks paying up to 1.6%. So you still have banks who are chasing liquidity. And we see that will continue even within this kind of low rates environment. And obviously technology. What's key to us has really been, I mentioned open banking, but all of the open APIs. We utilize multiple sources of data and data partners to personalize the prompts and to personalize solutions for each client. And that is the way to get to the scale of specific products for you as an individual or for your small business. There's obviously multiple benefits for our clients, increasing returns on cash and multi-bank management. In particular, in this environment, we have seen clients using our platform for the risk diversification of counterparties. Then we work with various distribution partners. I've mentioned IFAs. We work across the entire wealth sector and the retail market. And we also work with accountants and various other SME platforms to distribute our cash solution. In terms of the future, for us, it's a curated cash marketplace. We believe that clients are going to gravitate towards one ecosystem or one market, and we embed ourselves within that. So the concept of a marketplace within a marketplace. That's very important because that impacts how we view innovation and the philosophy around all of our roadmap. Most, 99% of this 110 trillion market is still entirely open. I just did a brief overview in terms of how do we work. It's very simple. We can literally do a 5-minute digital onboarding process. Akoni is FCA regulated. We work with 19 banks, and we open all of the accounts. We move all of the money between the banks based on our regulatory structure. Everything we do.
Heads up, you've got about a minute to wrap up.
Okay, thank you. Everything we do is designed for working from your sofa, the current environment, and that includes both businesses and individuals for the AML. I just briefly did the use case showing clients and advisors. And I wanted to say, because there were a few questions, our management team is currently more women than men, but will probably be 50-50 because we're hiring someone new soon. And in terms of competitors, our key difference is that we are fully API integrated across every type of data point that is needed, including the AML onboarding, and that we do a rapid rollout for white label portals on the same day for our partner clients. We have one form for everything, and we collaborate extensively. We even have credit partners. So we have a whole range of cash tools, which where our cash tool using open banking prompts towards a negative balance, it would link to one of our credit partners. And I think that's it from my side.
Perfect. Thank you, Felicia. And we'll start with Alison from Santander on a question.
This is a great concept. I love it. It's definitely something that SMEs need. And it's been crafted out of direct insight, and that really shines through in the proposition you've developed so far. I suppose the question I have is, we will enter a period, and are already in a period of incredibly low interest rates. That will continue. And arguably, as we come out of that cycle, there'll be huge pressure on businesses to access their cash. So how will your proposition evolve through those cycles?
So I think we already have seen, even prior to COVID, where we've had examples of clients who wanted to access their cash. And that is not based on our rules and requirements. It's really based on the banks. We work closely with our banks. We have close to $500 million cash on our platform at the moment. Our target over the next few years is to get to 8 to 10 billion, just to be clear, which is still a tiny proportion of the UK market. In those cases, there are some banks who do permit breaking, and what we do is we also give feedback relating to product requirements. As we get to scale, we think that feedback will be more influential. So one of the banks we're in discussions with already has told us they are looking at doing, because we gave some feedback on doing a term deposit with 20% breakable. So we work in collaboration with the banks. Our level of influence now is limited, but we see that growing.
Thanks, Felicia. Next question from Dana at Amex Ventures.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. So curious, what do you see as kind of like the most defensible part of your solution, especially as you're leveraging open banking, which you know, technically other competitors obviously can do too. What's your secret sauce?
So from our perspective, it's really that we are client-centric, and innovation around the client is at the heart. So for us, open banking is only one very small data source. We consider we need multiple data sources, which we currently utilize. So in terms of risks, for instance, we partner with Fitch. We're currently the only fintech to use a new product, which is called Fitch Implied Ratings, which ranks all banks globally. And this is because we have global ambitions. We already have done a discovery stage for a bank out in Asia to launch our product with our platform with their products only, so we don't need to be regulated. And we're in discussions with a consortium of banks in the US, and that's very much our enterprise play in that respect. So for us, everything that they've seen is around that innovation, because I could say APIs, but it's that client centricity. For instance, our competitors have built their platforms on a product centricity, which is, for me, very old school banking and wealth focus, looking at the product first and then building the technology around it, rather than considering what is it that the client needs and curating that accordingly.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Felicia, for your amazing presentation. And with that, I'm going to invite our next presenter for today and our final competitor, Baraka from Fintech for Good, which is building a bank for the future of work. So Baraka, over to you.
Lovely to be here today. Hello, everyone. Picnic Bank has been spun out of running We Are Fintech and Fintech for Good for over 5 years, working with 4 of the big crowdfunding platforms and also an investment bank in San Francisco for a year. Before the COVID outbreak, already 16 million adults in the UK had less than £100 in their bank. Over 5.4 million high-cost short loans were made last year, which equates to 3 billion for this sector. The UK owed 1.5 trillion at the end of January 2018. We sadly have 15 million people suffering long-term illness or disability. This all waterfalls down to 30% of UK children living below the breadline. This has spurred the team on to build Picnic Bank. There is now urgent need and no time. So we see collaborations rather than disruption as an innovation bullet. Picnic Bank will be using advances in AI, MX and avatars, aspiring to make the premium economy today with eco-concierge and gamifying financial literacy for all. Millennials and Gen Z are particularly like to vote with their hearts. 83% of consumers want more flexibility and 81% would like more free services. Brands that do not adapt will die. Sorry, it's just catching up. Picnic is the first Fintech for Good standard bearer. We go the extra mile to create unique bundles for special partnerships. The shift to the gifting economy being advised by Mark House, ex-Coops Bank. We will have health and impact wrappers for current accounts to exceed customer expectations. It's all about drawing a line in the sand, and we're confident we can take 6% of the UK market share. We will be launching with Bonsai, a Fintech for Good toolbox for the whole of the banking industry. Also for speed, we'll be white labelling a lending platform for local lending, and we'll be looking for 2 million of institutional investment to lend to SMEs in the crisis funding climate. In the background, we will be building the bank with 10 programmers. We estimate this will take 8 months to market and applying for banking licenses. We have a star-studded team with proven track records throughout: HSBC, Amex, Swift, Google and Thought Machine, to name but a few. All of us with many years experience in their key areas, bringing cross-sector knowledge to the kingdom. Our advisory board equally is second to none, and I am delighted to announce 2 new women joining us this week, a famed lecturer in London fintech scene and a cybersecurity expert. Our future is secured, also already securing top partnerships with Pink, Better.com, Fundsurfer, and links with Sainsbury's, with ambassadors Face to Face and Yanzi to bring an eco-conscious data layer to our brand. Our future is secured with market leaders in avatars creation with DNA Block from LA, who recently had a documentary on the BBC and already do avatars for banks in China. Frame, who's run by ex-CNN CEO Alex, who's done voice analysis and filming for UK Parliament and Web Summit and many more. and Reality Centre, who introduced Magic Leap to the UK, and thought leaders in VR and trading. We already have a lead investor from Fintech funds in the Middle East and are now looking to close this round quickly. We estimate having the white labelled local lending platform up within 6 weeks of the first tranche and looking to have 200,000 happy customers by the end of year 2. Learning through a mixture of business, B2B and personal accounting before we expand. Personal accounts will be launching first in Estonia, Netherlands, Sweden and the UK. Their deposits will start being used to lend to SMEs by the end of our second year rather than institutional investment. Our third year after testing assumptions will aim to focus on rollout to developing areas in Brazil, Mexico and India. We are looking to raise 3.5 million for the build and have strategic partnerships with banks, card providers and the telecom brand for phones to give to below the breadline families and the unbanked. Many of us live
40 seconds to wrap up, please.
Thank you. Many of us live a limitless life and we are looking for you to help to create it for all. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Baraka. And I'll now invite our judges to come up and ask their questions. Alison.
Yeah, I'll lead off. Great job presenting. And I think what strikes me about this is it's a movement, isn't it? You know, it's more than just a fintech project. It's absolutely massive. So I guess, you know, the question is, how are you building that roadmap in a piecemeal basis? You just showed us that last slide with the 6 weeks, the 6 months, etc. But just break that down a little bit for us, and let's take the UK as an example. How are you approaching building that massive ecosystem in the UK?
So what we're looking to do is test drive the local lending with 4 different postcodes within the UK, and have ambassadors in main supermarkets to talk to people face to face about the loans and find out more information. As much as we're a digital product, we also want to have people on the ground as well. We'll also be able to test our assumptions through my meetup groups, and I have over 35,000 people in meetup groups here and in San Francisco. So a lot of the ideas we'll be able to do lots of research. And I actually helped launch open banking with Nesta. I did the launch event with them, and I've also been a mentor on Fintech Innovation, Finance Innovation Labs as well. So I've got a massive sort of coalition of amazing people to call on as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Baraka. And what I would now do is request our colleagues here to start with the audience poll, I think. Sarah, I'm going to take your guidance here a bit. I understand we're now going to kick off the audience poll, and we're going to utilize that time for our judges to provide some candid feedback to all of our participants as well. So over to you, judges.
I'm happy to lead off on some thoughts. I mean, what an incredible range of presentations today. I was personally really pleased with the variety. We've got SME, we've got consumer, we've got world changing, we've got blockchain. And it was absolutely wonderful to listen to female entrepreneurs take on some of these really big topics. And I thought everybody did a brilliant job. I think for me personally, without sort of giving away the scoring, which I'm almost finished with, Nugget sounds really game-changing to me. I think there could be some real challenges with adoption there, but there's a lot to look forward to, a lot to work towards. Listening to the last presentation, I kind of felt a bit humbled and thought, well, how can I support this? It's a movement. It needs all of us to get engaged somehow. But then I also thought the rest of them, you know, Akoni in particular, and listening to some of the challenges that the presenters are really locked into, the strong user experiences and how we can really help particularly SMEs at the moment. I thought they came across fantastically well. And what an interesting time to present some of this. The world is changing, and I'm sure the presentations, as you pulled them together a few weeks ago, already have to adapt and change the environment we find ourselves in. So I'm more than happy to follow up with each of the presenters separately on a one-to-one basis, but of course, you know, the winner will be able to benefit from lots of super coaching. So thank you very much from me, certainly.
Should I turn to Janine? Janine, so you see a lot of fintechs across your desk. Any feedback you'd like to give as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just wanted to echo, I think everyone did a really fantastic job. So thank you all. And I know this is a very different experience having to pitch through this virtual platform here as well. And I think all of you, it's very clear, really understand and know your product and the challenge that you're trying to solve. There are strengths across all of your different propositions. So just really wanted to say a big thank you as well, and very, very well done.
Very great. And Alison, JP Morgan, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, so I would absolutely echo what Alison and Janine have said. Incredible presentations, all very, very different styles as well, actually. And that was one of the interesting things that I took from it in terms of the way that people had approached it, how they thought about it. All very, you know, if I think of myself as a consumer, all incredibly engaging, incredibly insightful, you know, I think as Alison mentioned, great knowledge of, you know, as you would expect, but great knowledge of that subject matter and an ability to pivot to questions as well. I always think that's really telling when you come to the question beads and ability on the hoof. I thought it was incredible. I was very, very inspired. Like Alison, love to have a chance to, and would be happy to sit with anybody. Really, really impressive, and I'm very humbled sitting here, frankly, as a judge. I think they're all incredibly impressive ladies, and, you know, proud and go us.
And Dana, last but no means least, we love
just to add to what these great ladies already said, I also very much enjoyed the fact that we had, you know, different participants from different sectors in the payments and financial services. So touching on risk and SMBs and consumers and identity and security. So very glad to see that. For me, I think also not giving out the scores, but close to a tie, I think, with both Nuggets and Muse. I thought both very different. Nuggets, I've seen a bunch of companies in the space, but I do think there's something differentiated there, and something that's very, very needed today to kind of reduce friction for users when they're shopping online. And then with Muse, I think, especially given the environment today, a product that might get a lot of traction if executed well. So thank you for all the participants. And this was really fun.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for your thoughts, and it is incredibly important that people get to hear your insights and your immediate feedback, and it's kind of you to make yourselves available to the presenters as well for comments afterwards as well. Akita, thank you for hosting. Great job. Keep us to schedule, keep us to time. It's never easy. It's one thing to do it when you're actually live on stage and you can do this and hike people off, but of course doing it digitally as well, you did an amazing job. So thank you so much for that. As to all our participants who've been watching, as Akita mentioned, we opened an audience poll. So shortly we're going to hear the judges' final scores, and of course they are right now just submitting their final feedback into the Women in Payments Central database that is determining the future of our amazing competitors. To all our competitors, I would just like also to say thank you so much for the time and the effort that you've put in to be present with us today. Well, I hope this gives you a wonderful platform for your great innovation. It is phenomenal to see that here in the UK, we have the largest ever turnout of female entrepreneurs, and of course we support you with every step that you take. As a founder and a CEO myself, I know how hard that is. I know how hard you work. I know some of you personally, and I know how committed you are. So thank you for participating today. It's been wonderful to have you share your thoughts, share your vision, and also share your progress as well. And we wish you every possible success. I have the job of announcing the audience vote winner. And then it gives me great pleasure because I'm going to welcome an honoured guest from Elevon, our sponsor for the Unicorn Challenge, to announce the judges winner. But ladies and gentlemen, as I have always said, and as Women in Payments has always stated, gentlemen, I say women, ladies and gentlemen, because gentlemen, you're always most welcome at Women in Payments events. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to announce that the audience winner is Nuggets. So congratulations to Nuggets. You will be, obviously, exactly, we have a digital silence round of applause for you. Brilliant presentation. The audience thought that you were a worthy winner. So many congratulations on that. But now for the judges winner, it gives me great pleasure to welcome, who's just joined us, who's just lit her camera. She's the general manager and the president of Elevon Europe. As we know, Elevon Europe is an incredibly valued sponsor and supporter of Women in Payments. So we're delighted that she's been able to join us today. Please welcome, and I'm going to turn over to Hannah as she removes the mute from her screen. It's Hannah Fitzsimons. Hannah, welcome. It's great to have you here today.
That's great. Thank you. It makes me sound very grand, Julia. Thank you. It's very exciting. I don't actually I'm still waiting to be told who the winner is. So I'm sure that any moment now that will come to me. Maybe just a couple of words while I'm waiting for that. Very happy to have been able to sponsor this event this year. We sponsored a different event at Women in Payments in the UK last year, and we really wanted to support innovation, making sure women have the right voice as part of that innovation community. I think based on what we are all living through right now, that matters more than ever. So, you know, I think very excited that we're here and able to support this initiative. Maybe a little call out as well to Christy. I think, you know, I really value her partnership. You know, personally, I would say in terms of how she drives some of these initiatives forward. I'm amazed as well at how the whole program of events has been moved to a digital format. I just think that is truly amazing in such a short period of time. It would have been such a shame for us not to be able to go ahead and have all these conversations and hear from lots of different people. So a call out to Christy in terms of how much I personally appreciate her leadership and what a great job that she's done. Now, rather awkwardly, Julia, I still haven't been told what the judges winner is. I'm not sure whether you know, and it's just me that doesn't know at the moment.
Yeah, which of course is great because it creates more tension. We love a bit of tension at these things.
Absolutely, it's very exciting.
Before, you know, there is incredible amount of effort that goes into this. So of course, to announce it too quickly would be far too quick. So we understand those scores are coming through literally any second now. But let me ask you, Hannah, so tell us about your job. I mean, you have a huge remit. I mean, so the general manager and president of Elevon across Europe as well. I mean, these must be really fascinating times for you in terms of your virtual workforce as well. Can I ask you one question, which is, so how have you, or what have you particularly paid attention to when you're working with your teams right the way across Europe of late?
Well, I'm not quite sure where to start with that question. I think that we have tried to think employees first, customers second, stability third. And that's been our mantra from the beginning. And whether that was, you know, getting 700 people out of an operational center to their homes. And so, you know, that my brain hurts, I would say, over the last few months, but I'm healthy. So I don't, you know, I don't complain too much about my brain hurting, but, you know, we're facing very different challenges. I think one of the conversations that we are really embedding throughout our management teams is that of resilience. And I'm sure that's come up somewhere on some of the sessions, you know, over recent days as part of Women in Payments. But this is by no means a sprint. This is a marathon. You know, and I just think about it personally, going from someone who was on the road every week of my life for the last 20 years to sitting in the same spot every day. That's hard. It's monotonous. Yeah. And finding different tactics as to how you deal with your own boredom, for want of a better term, but also, you know, as importantly, how do you support others? So that whole resilience to what's going to be a you know, clearly a prolonged situation, and how do we keep our spirits up, our mental health up, our enthusiasm up, our engagement programs, you know, so that's I guess has been top of mind. It's all about the employee, but it's also about looking after yourself and making sure actually if you're not in a good spot, it's going to be very difficult for you to lead and, you know, and support other people across the business.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because you talk about the travel. I mean, similarly, I'm on planes all the time, and it's funny also how energy levels have changed over time as well. Because the first 2 weeks, I found that actually my personal rhythm and energy was all over the place just because I've been in one place all the time. But it's fascinating because I do talk to a lot of fintech CEOs and entrepreneurs, and they're thinking about fascinating. You say employees first and then customers second. And of course, it's this whole central concept of look after your team and your team look after your clients, which is important as well. And actually, I would love to open that out to our other judges as well. And notice a number of people nodding at the word mental health, or the expression mental health, and also resilience as well. Alison at Santander, can I come to you first of all? I mean, what do you do to stay, you know, fit, healthy, sane as a leader in your business?
I mean, apart from the obvious gin consumption, you know, what struck me when I was listening to Hannah talk, we've had to adapt to home working, but we're not alone. The rest of for a lot of us, the rest of our families are with us. I appreciate some people are on their own, and that must bring its own challenges, but trying to balance everybody getting used to being at home. And I have 2 children, and they're very outgoing, and they're getting fed up, and the husband's getting fed up, and you at the same time are trying to build a routine for you, routine for your team, and look after your customers. So it's just been a complete wave of change, hasn't it? It's and there hasn't been that much gin, just a small.
Or I said the wrong impression. But of course, it does play a part at an appropriate time of the day. But it's fascinating because we talk about this very much from a customer lens and a customer point of view as well. Janine, I mean, you are the biggest fintech. Obviously, I would say this, but the most important, but the biggest fintech membership organisation in the UK, and it's very natural often when we talk about the context of the UK to be quite London centric in our comments. But of course now with all your fintech, you know, your what they call your national fintech strategy, of course, you know, there are fintech hubs all over the UK as well. I'd love to hear from you about what is it your members are particularly thinking about at the moment, and as they look at the road ahead.
Absolutely, Julie. I mean, I think absolutely to your point. I mean, we launched about a little bit more than a year ago something called the Fintech National Network with our peer fintech hubs across the entirety of the UK. And what I would say is, in the face of COVID-19, this is obviously a very difficult time for every sector of industry. However, fintechs tend to be more agile, more flexible, more you know, able to pivot, able to adjust, more readily adaptable for remote working as well. So I would say that the fintech sector in particular is probably going to be one of the spaces that is able to pull through this. And if anything, COVID-19 has more than ever before really shown a light on how important it is for financial services as a whole to be digitalizing and to be offering that type of digital engagement. And so that is really, we've seen a huge uptick in terms of partnerships and appetite, both from the incumbents to be working with the startups and also from the startups and scale-ups to really pivot their proposition to cater toward the needs of both wider society and industry during this time.
And it is, isn't it? Because actually it's almost embedded, and also having the capabilities. And this day and age when everything is driven by APIs and light infrastructures, of course, the ability to pivot and change is quite extraordinary. So I have exciting news, actually, that the results are now in. So this is our digital drum roll moment. You know that, don't you? So play along with me as I literally kind of do that in my head. I have drumsticks going galore because this is important. Actually, I say with some levity, but actually it is incredibly important because we do want to champion leaders in the industry, real pioneers and innovators. So Hannah, I'm coming back to you. I know you've got the results hot, literally hot in. So tell us the results.
Yes, very exciting. So I am very pleased to announce someone has had a really good day. So actually the judges winner of the Unicorn Challenge goes to Nuggets and Seema Khinda-Johnston. So a double winner for the day. So huge congratulations.
But perhaps we can invite Seema to put your camera on. It'd be wonderful to see you. Just to wish you well. Congratulations, many congratulations.
Thank you very much.
There you are.
Absolutely honoured to. I'm so glad that you can see the vision, and this is like a massively important prize for us as well, to get an audience with decision makers and share what we've been building. So thank you. Really chuffed.
Well done.
Pleasure. Fantastic. Wonderful. So on that note, then let's wish Seema well. Thank all of our competitors. It's been phenomenal to have you involved. Can we ask them to put their cameras on one last time? All of our competitors today, I think you deserve a digital round of applause for all your time, your effort, and we do want to wish you every possible success as we do that. Again, our thanks to Elevon for supporting as well. And let me turn back now to Christy. Christy, I know you want to make some, I can see you smiling just with your championship of innovation and innovators. So over to you.
Oh my gosh, this was just so fantastic. I want to thank each of the competitors, especially Seema. Congratulations for winning double whammy, both the Judges' Choice and the Audience Choice Award. That was phenomenal. But also all of you, Anne with Muse, and Felicia with Akoni, and Narisa at KogoPay, and of course Z West with Picnic Bank. All fantastic concepts, and I know you'll do well with them. It is so inspiring to see all of the innovation that you women are driving in this market, and it's great opportunity and an honor for me to be able to facilitate getting this out to market, getting your message, your products, getting you some coverage so that you can move forward and get funding that you need to develop these in the market. So congratulations to all of you, and especially to Seema. This concludes our Women in Payments UK Symposium. It has been such a fun week, and we've had some amazing speakers this week. Marcia Cantor-Grable, our keynote on Tuesday, our executive panel yesterday with Liz Lumley, and some amazing women, Sarah Castellano, Natasha DeTaran, Ruth Wandhofer, and Sarah Webb. And of course, this year's Women in Payments Award winners, Anna Tsepko for innovation, Visa for the Rising Star Award, Katrina Roberts from Amex, the Advocate for Women Award, and Jennifer Duncan of MasterCard was this year's Emerging Leader Award. It has been a new experience doing this all virtually, but perhaps more the Women in Payments team, who have done an awesome pivot to, on a dime, move from face-to-face events to mastering the art of delivering a virtual event. We look forward to hopefully not too many more, but we know we can do them now. And the great thing is we now get to capture them digitally for posterity and for others to enjoy. I also want to especially thank our sponsors for their very strong support. Elevon for supporting the Unicorn Challenge today. Of course, I have to mention.
May I just jump in again? Again, your line's got a little bit chewy. So let me just back up on the UK sponsors, because I know how much you really value them. American Express for the awards, Finastra for gold, Elevon, the Unicorn Challenger, thank you for all your support today. And Ripple also have been a bronze sponsor as well. Christy, hopefully your line is now settled a little for your final thoughts.
Thanks, Julia. I really appreciate the support and leadership of our committees, our awards committee this year, who had a really tough job, winners, and our advisory board, who provide input and guidance to help guide and shape the event. And clearly this was an extraordinary event, an extraordinary year for their support, but they did a great job. Last but not least, I want to thank you, the audience, for taking the time to invest in yourselves and in your careers. I hope you've found this event to be worthwhile, and congratulate you on being the champions of your own careers. I've often repeated my words to my father-in-law, who said, if you want something in life, you have to make it happen. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your support. One last note before we close is I encourage all of you to join us at this afternoon's digital after party, where we'll get together to virtually mix, mingle, and raise a glass to our friends, old and new, and do a little bit of networking. And also we have 8 door prizes. Prize winners must be present to win. So please join us. You should get a link to join the virtual after party, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks, everybody.